Q&A for the shoe shining story. It's getting even more exciting. I'm sorry, Don. Go ahead and finish your next story, because you got to have a lot of these, I'm guessing. Keep going.
I guess there is kind of a pattern, as I said earlier. My Mr. Steak story is kind of similar to what I already had shared with you, in that I was in there 3 or 4 months, senior in high school, and there was a guy that had been there for a couple of years already and was a couple of years older than I was. And all of a sudden, I get promoted to head cook, ahead of him. That didn't go over too well with him, not at all. But it was because I just came there and worked. I just did a good job. I didn't complain about it, and I was pleasant with the people that were there, including the waitresses, as hard as that was sometimes.
Well, go ahead.
So, because that then parlayed into, I got into the automotive machine shop parts store business.
Okay.
And so it was a retail business, but I was very good with the customers, and in the sense that my brother-in-law at the time had said to me, hey, you're really good with people. Why don't you go, I'll get you an interview with my sales manager in the food distribution company that I work for. I think you'd really be good at it. I said, well, Richard, I don't have any experience. I don't have any sales. I don't have any college education. I've got a wife and 1 kid, another one on the way, and I'm only 21 years old. And he says, no, go do it. So I went and I took the interview, and lo and behold, I got the job. Like I said, no experience. But there was so many things that came out of that, because I ended up with a territory, if you can call it that, in downtown San Francisco for 3 years. There was huge learning curve that came out of that particular thing that I really didn't realize until probably 2 decades later. But it all really established some core principles of sales and how to deal with people. And the first thing, I'll give you a good story. When I left that territory and I came back down here to San Jose, and I went back about 6 months later to a convention or something like that, and one of the guys there, a salesperson, Ron Poole, had taken over about half of my accounts that were up in San Francisco. And he came over to me and he says, Don, how did you do it? I said, do what? He says, you know what? I've been in this business for going on 10 years now, and I might have one client that allows me to do this. But about half of your clients, when I walked in there, you did the order, you did the pricing. They didn't even ask what was going on. He goes, how did you do it? And, I was maybe 23 at the time, and I said, Ron, I really don't know, other than I never gouged anybody. I never overstocked anybody, and I did the right thing. And if there was something that was not on the truck, I'd go get it.
It's amazing on how really, in so many ways, success is so simple. My youngest daughter just got married recently. She just graduated from college. She paid her own way through college, and she graduated with a 4.0 average. We had a party this weekend at our house. A bunch of people came over, and who she's nannying for, they came over. And I was talking to the husband. He owns his own construction business, and we were talking. He says, man, I'm having a hard time finding people. And I said, yeah, man, it's hard. And he says, he said, the ideal person is your son. Man, I wish he wouldn't have moved away when he was working for me. So that's my 29-year-old son. And he said, I'm glad he's successful in his video business and the other stuff he's doing. And he's keeping up with him. He moved out to Tucson. I don't think he hopes that he fails out there, but he's keeping up with him. He's like, he was so perfect for what I was looking for. And my youngest son is now working for him. And I have shared with my youngest son growing up multiple times that I think he's very lazy. Very, very lazy. I'm like, you are very lazy. So
I go over real well.
Yeah, I asked him once when he was 16. I said, hey, Tim, I'm just curious, like, 1 to 10, how'd you rate me as a dad? And I think he said a 6. And I said, okay. I said, what would it take to get to a 10? He said, stop calling me lazy. Well, naturally, I'm thinking, well, I think that's part of being a good dad is telling your son the truth. Like, hello, buddy. So he's working for this gentleman that my daughter's also working for as a nanny, and they love her. And I said, hey, how's Tim doing? He's like, he's doing great. I'm like, that's awesome, because he moved out about 6 months ago. There's a little tension. That might be an understatement between my youngest son and I. And so I don't talk to him a lot, but he hangs out, with the other kids and my wife, and that's cool. I said, that's great. I said, is he hard work? He said, he really is. I'm like, that's awesome. He said, but I think he's kind of interested in going into the union, which, whatever. He said, I'm not really obviously looking for that, looking for somebody to maybe hand my business over to. I said, have you talked to my son, Ben, who's 20? And he says, I haven't, but, I know he works with Jonathan's son. Yeah, Jonathan's son. So in our family, what we tended to do, Dutch background. So again, hard workers, frugal, diligent in what you're doing. Like in our family, we've handed off, our jobs from one to another, to another, to another, multiple generations. It was interesting. Beth, great to have you on today. You're a 4th generation owner of a company, a printing company and newspaper publishing company out of the Wisconsin area. Any questions that you have, Beth, for Don today?
Not so much questions, but just comments. Just that hardworking as a kid and coming up with jobs. I feel like I'm still doing that, and I kind of pick on myself. I've said to all kinds of people, I'm relatively unemployable, so I have to keep starting my own businesses.
I'm with you, girl. Me too. Me too. This is when they took out not doing paper routes. I think they destroyed so many entrepreneurs. I don't know. I had a paper route when we moved from Appleton, Wisconsin. What's that?
We still have paper routes.
For kids?
Yeah.
Oh my gracious! Like
just one day.
Not here in California.
Yeah, not here in Chicago. It's all drivers of cars, and so when I moved from Appleton, Wisconsin to the Chicago area, DuPage County, very affluent area, within, I think it was a year, maybe year and a half, my dad jokingly said, because there were 6 of us, and my dad said, but it was true, he said, if you live within a 30-mile radius of where we live, which is, heavily populated area, affluent area, he said, if you get a paper, it comes from a Boersma kid. Like, we just took over the whole thing. And I had paper routes in Appleton, Wisconsin, which was totally different. Like, there were 2 types of paper routes there. There's so many stories in selling Christmas trees and other types of things. So that's cool. Katrina, questions, thoughts you have?
Should I have any questions or thoughts?
Yeah, it's like, I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, and like, how do I help her start her own company, like, right away?
Okay.
But that's just my thought.
And Melissa says she doesn't have anything either.
Oh, okay, Melissa's here too. Okay, great to have you both on.
I had you on speaker.
Okay, yep, good to have you. Are any of my grandkids on?
Daniel, say hi.
Hi.
Hi, buddy. How are you? Are you listening? Hi, honey. Are you guys all listening? Is this the coolest story, the shoe shining principle? Like, oh my gracious! Like, how cool would it be? Like, Aunt Angela, she's got the Oceania continent. She wants to go to Australia so bad, it's unbelievable. How cool would it be to go with Aunt Angela to Australia for the first time and we could see where Mr. Crozier went ahead and did shoe shining as an 8-year-old. That's only 1 year older than you, Daniel. How cool is that? That's pretty cool.
Well, I probably started out at 7.
Started out at 7. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, because we left there when I was 8.5.
Okay. Alan, Nancy.
By boat, took us a month to get here, by the way.
Wow.
It was fun.
Alan and Nancy, questions, thoughts you all have?
Nancy's not here, but yeah, Don, you must be the same age as me.
Probably.
23 years old, right?
Yeah. I'm having the 50th anniversary of my 13th birthday. Yeah. No, but I messed up the math a little bit there.
Any questions or thought, Alan?
Nope.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
One of the things that I was thinking about, Mark, is you had brought up the difference with my brother or brothers, and the brother right after me, a year and a half younger. I mean, here's a right from the get, no matter where we were, whether it was moving to Canada and then down here and several schools within those particular things. I would have 10 friends day one because I would just open my mouth to talk to people when I'm standing in the lunch line. And he wouldn't talk to somebody for 6 months. It was a completely different world.
Yes. So all of my siblings, so 3 brothers and 2 sisters, they all own their own companies. But their companies are very different than my company. Like, they didn't develop their own product. They either bought companies, or one's in accounting or one's in technology. So they didn't really, like, they had established industries, and so they didn't create something really from nothing. And so very, very different. So, I think everyone would say definitely, I'm the most entrepreneurial, of all of the kids. When we look at the quantum thinking model and the internalization model, like, I want my grandkids, my 5 grandkids, another one on the way, I want them to be able to make a choice. Do I want to work for somebody else? There's nothing wrong with that. It's totally okay. Or do I want to start my own company? I don't want them to ever be dependent upon anything big government, big education, big media, big religion, big pharma. Like, I don't ever want them to be dependent on something big to succeed. I want them to be able not to get a job, but if they need to, create their own job. And so, I'm thinking a lot over the holiday season with my 5 grandkids with me now, hanging out for a couple of weeks, having so much fun. It's insane. And how to help them really internalize these things. I love the Grandpa Chappelle principle from Tom Coons, past president of Century 21. Another great, Grandpa's Magic Couch session. And that you're not, this isn't going to have a lot of meaning now to you, but write it down because it will in the future. And there are so many individuals like, Alan, like Don, like myself, who've spent decades building businesses, and as Tom would say, we're on the back nine, and so we're not going to live forever, and we want to hand off our business to somebody else who's going to continue to create the legacy. Alan and I are in, and Katrina are in, and Beth, we're in a mastermind group called BWWM, Business Working Without Me. How do you create a legacy? How do you hand off your business to other people? And so with my kids, my grandkids, I talked to my 20-year-old son, Ben, about working for this guy. And I said, this guy's 51, buddy. I'm telling you, he's going to need somebody to go ahead and hand his business over to. and you're going to be right in the prime, I'm telling you, man, this is a huge opportunity for you. Just huge to be able to do. And so, any ideas on how to, well, two things. One is, let's look at ourselves as business owners. How do we find somebody? How do we find people who can come in with those type of experiences? And so, you know, Alan and Beth and Don and I all have similar experiences in growing up. How do we find those people? And then how do we develop them? Cool. I was thinking there might be an easy answer, and it's like, okay. Okay. See, I think in the homeschooling networks, I think that they build an entrepreneurial child. They think in a different way. The parents, you know, you don't have to go ahead and go down mainstream. So I think they think outside the box. They're a pretty independent group of people. I think, you know, Amish who haven't been, people who have been raised Amish but have not decided to become Amish, I think, you know, so how do you find groups of people that we could tap into and say, hey, because I'd recommend, like I would not recommend my kids or my grandkids to take the path I chose. I mean, if any of them wanted to do it, I'd have no problem with them doing it. But man, if you don't have to,
know how rough it is.
Right. If you don't have to start your own company from nothing, if you don't have to develop your own products, if you don't have to do all of this, if you can take somebody else's 20, 30, 40 years of hard work and you can leverage that, for sure do it. Like for sure.
You know, a couple of things I want to say on that, because I know that we're coming to a close here. In raising kids to be entrepreneurs, to be right thinking, to be work, you know, energy, is, you know, you're never a prophet in your own land. And your kids will tend to slough off what you say. They'll ignore you. In fact, they'll do opposite of what you ask them to do, all those kind of things. So I found, for me, that one of the key things was I needed to surround my kids with other people that I felt were as good, if not better than me, maybe in their own professions, that were going to be a great influence, and they would catch their ear and their attention. And so that, I think, there's a lot of pearl of wisdom in that.
I heard of one family where the dad said to his kids, the first job you get, you are required to work for a small business owner where you report directly to the business owner. He said, the first job you get, that's the requirement. I'm not going to let you go work you have to work for a small business owner, or, you know, you have to work directly with the owner. And I thought, ooh, and that connects in with, you know, what you're saying, Don. And that's really like the EC2 community, engineered clarity community. You just meet some really interesting people who think outside the box, or say, what box? Like they don't even know, like, what box is there? And so this is great. Like, I think grandparents, like, get your grandkids in this. Like, don't give them the money, but help them start their own company. It's $20 a month. Like, what do they have to, like, as long as they earn their own money, they invest into it, and then they go ahead and get a return on it. So show them how to take $20 investment, not consume it, invest it into their own company, invest it into themselves, and take that $20 and turn it into $40. And then take the $40 and turn it into $80. So if you have any question, again, if you haven't joined EC2, do it. I mean, as a business owner, I want everyone I work with to be an EC2. It's unbelievable. Because there's too many lessons in life, like the one that, you know, Don has, like Tom and like Beth and like Alan. There's too many of these stories. There's too many of my own stories that my own kids have not even tapped into yet, that have helped me to be who I am, to think who I am, and to be able to discover my life vision at the age of 8 and live that now for 47 years and say, okay, how am I going to touch every single person in the world, one person at a time, make a huge difference in every aspect of their life in a really fun and exciting way. And yep, it's 7.4 plus billion people. So, join EC2, discover your life vision, whatever that is, and then learn to live it every single day. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. God bless and have an amazing day. Bye-bye.